Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast. I'm your host Ashwin. We have a full house today for the first time in a little while. Varun's joining us in Singapore, DJ's in London. DJ, let me start by checking in. How are you doing? It's been a couple of weeks since we had you on the show. How are things going, man?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and sorry, I'm just gonna step in first. So two quick things. Firstly, it's Ashwin's birthday today, so happy birthday, Ashwin.
Great
And
start.
DJ reminded us in the morning that it was the day of Gabaka Gamand tutoing,
No,
if that
DJ
is
will
a
never
phrase.
forget my birthday for that reason.
Yeah, exactly. And I messaged him separately, saying, by the way, it's Junior's birthday. And he's just like, I know, bro, it's Gabaka Gamand
Of
tutor.
course. Of
Um,
course.
and then secondly, bigger news, DJ, congratulations. You've had a baby girl. And, uh, I know from personal experience, nothing could be better than that. So congratulations to you and your wife and your families. And how are you feeling? How are you doing? You are looking
Christmas
like a
Eve
little
miracle, right?
sleep. Yeah, it's a little bit sleep deprived, but, how are you doing?
yeah, guys. Thank you very much. Firstly, Ashwin, happy birthday. Yeah, it's been life changing. I'd say, putting it mildly, it's been 3.5 weeks now. She's great. I mean, she arrived on Christmas Eve, so her first day back home was the start of the Boxing Day test. So she was there watching Sammy Constas being shoulder barred by Virat and ramping Bumrah and stuff. So she's lived through a lot in her little life already. But yeah, it's been great, man. And of course, you guys have been keeping the show going. So as they say, the show must go on. And now we're going to talk about ODIs and T20s.
Yeah,
And
nothing
I
nothing like
swear,
that pivot.
DJ sent me a picture of her today, and her finger, like her right hand, was doing this. Like the follow through after the ball was bowled. So well done.
She just needs the hyperextension of the elbow,
I, I
like
think
just breathe.
I would like, Varun, you and I can take some credit for that, right? While most of your friends and family were sending you books with ABCs and all kinds of basic pictures and things you showed 2 weeks old, can we tell our listeners that Varun and I found a baby's book about cricket, and we
Yeah,
sent that to your little girl. So hopefully you've been
uh,
reading that to her and showing
yeah,
her
black and
pictures.
white cricket book. I mean, unbelievable, right? Amazing.
Love it.
Thank you, guys.
It felt appropriate. Well, welcome back. We're happy to have you. And what better
So,
time? It's
sorry,
weird.
can I just
Yeah.
tell you one more thing? Because I don't
Yeah.
know. So obviously, I don't know. My daughter's got surname from my wife as well, right? My wife's surname is Kohli. So the number of questions I've got whether I've named my daughter after Virat Kohli is
So good.
actually
Dude, that would have been
unbelievable. So
great. That
like
would have been
part of her
great.
surname is Kohli, so she's Kohli Chuck. But yeah, people obviously think I'm a bigger cricket fan than I gave myself credit for.
You should just add Sharma and Pant and all into her last names as well.
I
Why not?
mean, you were recommending I call her Mahi, right?
Yeah, it's a great girl
After
name. It's a
MS.
great name for a girl. Anyway, it's weird because usually when we have a full house, we've either just won or T20 World Cup or won a series in Australia or things like that. And not only was last week the episode where we got to talk about losing the series, there has been no cricket in the last 7 days. So between our previous episode that we got to record, Varun and I did, and now when all three of us are back, there's been no cricket, and yet the news cycle never stops. So Varun, will you go through very quickly the big news this week before we get into Champions Trophy squad and Shami is back for England and all of that important stuff? The big news this week was this BCCI 10-point rule or 10-point ruling essentially that came out with a whole bunch of stuff in there that was a little surprising. Doesn't seem like our skipper is too amused by it, and so yeah, will you just give us a quick rundown of what it was that we can chat about it?
Yeah, I mean, I gave you a perfect transition talking about children. I thought you were going to say, speaking of children and how you treat children, the BCCI has come out with, like, I gave you the perfect segue. I'm very disappointed in you. But anyway, the
Yeah, I'm disappointed
BCCI
in myself too.
has come out with this list, and we'll go through a few of the points. But two things, right? Firstly, it sounds like a group of frustrated old uncles just got together and vented and came out with the minutes of the meeting, which became the policy. And the second thing, to me, it feels like this could have been addressed in a text message to Virat Kohli specifically. Like, it didn't have to be published. It felt very, very targeted. So anyway, they have to participate in domestic matches, which I think is fine. And we spoke about this last week about Ranji. It says, then it goes on to start talking about how You have to travel separate to your family. It then lists out that your family can only be with you for, I believe, 2 weeks in a 45-day tour, right? So, what if it's 44 or what if it's 46? We have no idea. Um, you restrict your personal staff, like chefs and security. And then, obviously, if you're doing all this, it comes down to the next one, is no baggage allowance of more than 150 kgs. So, it just feels very weird. Like, what are you solving for? Baggage allowance, chef, families can't visit. I mean, I don't know, DJ. You've read this as well. What was your take? To me, it just sounded ridiculous.
It sounds like there's been a bit of a knee jerk reaction to losing the New Zealand series and then losing Border Gavaskar. As I think you pretty much put it pretty well, Kohli edged and Anushka got dropped, right? So um, I think that sums it up because, I mean, obviously Kohli had that run in with the reporters at Melbourne before Boxing Day. We know Rishabh Pant at least has his own chef because he's been using a nutritionist after his accident. That can't be a bad thing. Someone like Kohli probably does need a bit more security, particularly going around India. I don't know how that's going to be managed. Maybe the BCCI will deal with that. But for me, the biggest question in all of this is who needs 150 kilo allowance while
Yeah.
traveling?
I mean,
What?
if you've got
Does that
chefs and
include
security
bats or
guards,
Yeah,
not?
but
Because
how much will that? Like, okay, you have two kid bags.
wait,
Let's say
you
that's
have
60
not.
kgs.
Okay, here's you have not traveled with a child, my friend. An 8-day trip. I travel with 80 to 90 kgs. Now, if you imagine Anushka Sharma, two children, a chef, security guard, and Virat Kohli's equipment, it's not a lot, DJ.
Yeah. But the best part about this is the sanctions, right? The sanctions are you may be blacklisted from the IPL. And that's the golden goose, right? So that's the stick that they're using to beat the Indian test cricketers with, which is a slightly odd place to be as well. Because, yes, this applies to everybody, but it's come off the back. Remember, we're T20 World Cup champions. We've only played 6 ODIs since the World Cup in 23. So this is coming off the back of losing a test series. And the sanction is you might not play the IPL. So yeah, the BCCI has probably gone a bit overboard on this front, but maybe it's time to bring some of the players back down to earth. I don't know, man. Like it's a little bit odd to do this publicly as well. And
so,
Rohit in the press conference. That's the next point.
yeah, Varun, there's a little bit of debate on whether there was clearly a hot mic that picked up stuff that it wasn't necessarily supposed to. There's a little bit of debate on whether Rohit knew or not. I mean, he hasn't. He also at the same time hasn't really hidden his displeasure or confusion at it. It feels like maybe on Thursday when the letter went out, he got it when everybody did, which is not necessarily how you want to manage it for your captain. But kind of thoughts on Rohit's reaction, and obviously, I don't think he travels with an entourage or personal chef. I haven't seen reports of him arriving separately from the team. So I don't know which ones will impact him the most. Maybe the family stuff. But yeah, thoughts on how Rohit reacted and what that means for kind of the team dynamic and unity?
I don't know. It is. I can't believe that Rohit has pre-planned this and said it. But I mean, he did on mic say, "I will have to talk to the secretary now because all the boys are writing to me and I need to sort this out." So, it's a weird thing to tell somebody like Ajita Garkar anyway sitting at a press conference even if the mic was off. I don't know. I just think he got unlucky. Rohit can't seem to catch a break. Like I don't know if you guys saw the video of him going for a jog in the park with like uncles all around him. It was really weird. He just went for a jog, and like it's really really
With his
weird.
Mumbai
So
Indians bag as well. He had his backpack and he was doing shuttle runs and this uncle with the dog was watching him.
so weird.
Quite
Where has he gone
surreal,
for a
man.
run? He just can't catch a break these days, right? So I think it's just unfortunate. It just feels like when everything's going wrong, it just goes wrong. I don't think that was meant to be caught. I think it was just. He's probably dealing with so much. Yes, 15 guys are probably messaging you saying, you got to talk to the BCCI. This is childish, as we already spoke about.
Yeah, so let's. I mean, we can spend a lot of time going through all of it, but obviously the Varun mentioned this sort of in jest, but the reality is the don't come travel separately from the team. No personal chef or staff. A lot of those seem pretty targeted at Kohli. The question, DJ, I have for you is on around this mandatory domestic cricket clause, because there's a lot to unpack there, right? Varun and I talked last week about how yes, Ranji Trophy is awesome and important, but then we had guys who had phenomenal Ranji Trophy seasons in the squad, and they didn't get a game in Australia. Now, as the Champions Trophy side has been, a squad has been announced, Sanju Samson is being disciplined by Kerala for not playing in a camp, but is being selected for the squad. So domestic isn't that important there. Virat Kohli has been told to go play domestic, but he's got a neck strain now, which I haven't seen him have in years. But he'll miraculously be fine, I'm sure, for the ODIs against England. And then
I
most
think
It's
he
of
had
with the
gone to
BCCI
some. I
putting his
think
neck on the block and like chopping.
I
he
think
went
he
to a
had gone to some
chiropractor or
Baba,
something.
and right, he just went full like on the floor. So maybe he sprained it there or something.
I mean, just he sprained it for exactly 3 weeks is what happened. But DJ, my question is then like, so what happens? Are you going to make Bumrah play Ranji now? Like,
Well,
of course, there's different rules, right? You cannot possibly say Bumrah has to go put more workload on his shoulder.
yeah. Also, it's double standards because you spoke about Ishwaran, I think, last week. This week we'll come to the Champions Trophy squad, but the guy who scored the most runs in the ODI tournament hasn't made the squad. Karun Nair, right? He averages 750, I think, in the tournament or something crazy like that. Agarkar mentioned it. Um, Kohli, there's a problem of too much cricket. We've been talking about that for years. We've struggled following cricket as simple podcasters, right? That just follow Indian men's cricket. When you said there's not,
Yeah.
the Indian women are playing Ireland, there's a lot going on. There's so much cricket at the moment, which it's not bad for players to get a bit of a break. So to then impose the fact that you have to be available for domestic cricket is it's a bit crazy to be saying that and then not picking the guys that are performing there, Sarfaraz and Ishwaran, as you said, and then Karun Nair. So your standards are not being applied equally. And I get maybe there's not a spot for Karun in this in the 15, but you can't then say you'll be sanctioned if you don't play domestic cricket and then not pick the guys that perform in domestic cricket because you think that you've got a squad which is uh, probably the best already. So it's very difficult to reconcile the two.
And Varun, just as we wrap, the point is this is a 10-point ruling targeted at certain problems. They couldn't figure out how to have a specific conversation with the offending players, if you will. And so they've created this ruling. But in a perfect world, you're saying, hey, if you performed above a certain amount in the last series and you are selected for the next one, you don't have to play domestic. Like Bumrah, let's pick him as the example. Right? But but saying you played the last series is not enough to get out of domestic, because the guys who failed in the last series are the ones who you want to go get domestic time, right? So how do you reconcile that? Like in a perfect world, you're able to have the conversations with Kohli, Rohit, maybe to an extent Rahul, and some of these guys who had a Gill for sure, and say it is mandatory for you to go play Ranji, without creating this kind of blanket ruling in the way we treat children. But obviously that's not happening. Do you see that changing at any point?
I mean, I think they got lucky in the sense that there was only one person who performed that entire
Yeah.
series.
So
So
it
apart
became
from that
mandatory.
one person, it could be applicable to all. I think, yes, you should maybe specify, right? Maybe you should say that you have to play 3 Ranji games a year or something. I'm just making this up.
Yeah.
But rather than just be a little bit vague about you have to be available, maybe put a metric to
Could
it.
you
And
could you set
yeah,
numerical rules? Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Could you say like, hey, if you finish a test series with a batting average below 30 or bowling average above 30, you have to go play more domestic cricket, or so, I don't know. It
So,
sounds so
so
arbitrary.
isn't it the other way around that you say that the prerequisite to be selected for India is performing well in domestic cricket,
Yeah.
right? So if you're dropping someone like a Rohit or a Kohli, they need to go back, like a Pujara goes back, scores runs in domestic, and comes back, because there's no point getting them to play and then picking them anyway. It doesn't make any sense unless you're going to actually drop them.
yeah. So it's like KL Rahul, right? I don't think he played much domestic. He was dropped and then came back, right? That's the example. Now I think Rahane and Pujara have actually gone back and played.
Mhm.
But there, I don't know, just the way cricket in general and Indian cricket works is you've just got people in slots, right? And it's very hard. Like even this ODI, as we talk about it, the ODI team that reached the final of the 2023 World Cup has done nothing wrong. There is, yes, a Karuna type should have been looked at and probably brought in, but on what basis are you throwing them out? It's just complex. That's what I'm saying. You should probably just have a minimum number of games that everyone should be playing because your calendar allows them to be able to do that.
Yeah, it's complicated, right? We don't envy the folks who have to make these tough decisions. You mentioned the Champions Trophy squad, so it's just come out. DJ, I don't know if you have it in front of you. Let's go through really quickly and talk through the Champions Trophy squad, and then we will just chat kind of what it means, what are the decisions, and obviously the big decision, Varun. Actually, let me come to you first because you said that. The big decision was the last time we played ODIs, we played well. We are looking to solidify kind of what the current strategy has been versus use this as our first look to the future. My point, by the way, the other day was there's always some tournament. So you're always saying we'll start preparing for the future later. To me, this would have been a good chance. But is that a fair summation of kind of the strategic approach to selection? It's basically the same approach as the last time we played ODS.
Yeah, so look, this tournament, I think Harsha Bogle said this, right? And I'm not sure if we mentioned it last time, is this tournament is hanging in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
It is not that relevant. It is too far away. You're 2.5 years away from the ODI World Cup for you to make changes for that. And so I think given that context, I think, a lot of the guys who did well in that ODI World Cup, they have not done anything wrong to be excluded. So as we, maybe we can just start talking through it, but I really can't argue with the logic that much, except for probably saying that, two names were not there, which I think could have. One was Jaiswal, right? And the second was a Karun Nair equivalent, right? Even a Karun Nair type it's just hard in Indian cricket to have one good series and then go straight into the ODI squad.
Wait, just to clarify, Jaiswal has
squad.
made the squad,
Yep.
which is the big change. So,
sorry, Jaiswal has made the Champions Trophy squad.
Correct.
Okay, I was thinking more playing 11 because
Gill and Rohit.
correct.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, correct.
So, DJ, actually, why don't we take a very quick break? We'll come back. We'll run through what we think the 11 could be for the Champions Trophy with the excitement of Shami being back, the asterisk next to Jasprit Bumrah's name. We'll talk that, and then we'll talk a little bit about the England series, which starts in 3 days at the time of recording this. Maybe right around the corner by the time.
Enough time for a domestic game, for sure.
For at least 3. Go play at least 3, according to Warren. All right. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back after this break. Welcome back to the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast. If you are on YouTube, as always, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, leave us a comment. We read them. We'd love to hear from you. It makes it fun for us to keep putting out these episodes. So please leave us a message. Otherwise, we're at One Tip One Hand on all the social medias. We actually don't have a Blue Sky account. Well, DJ, maybe we should talk about doing that in parallel. That's the new kind of fast growing. I don't know. TikTok is getting shut down in the US now, so it's a wild time to be on social media. But why don't you give me, if you look at this Champions Trophy squad, you're kind of playing 11. Let me read through the squad quickly, and then you give me who's going to play. So Rohit is captain, Gill is vice, Kohli, Iyer, Rahul, Rishabh, Hardik. Then you go all-rounders: Hardik, Jadeja, Akshar, Sundar, and then you go Kuldeep, Bumrah, Shami, Arshdeep, and then of course Jaiswal, who I missed up front. So, what is your ODI playing 11 here? Do you change it up? Does Jaiswal get a look? How do you manage the 5 right-handers in the top 5 situation? What's the approach?
So what is incredible here is that Shubman Gill is the vice captain of this team. So to my mind, and maybe that was conflating Test form and T20 form with ODI form, I would have loved to see Yashasvi Jaiswal at the top of that order. I would have loved to see him opening with Rohit, because Rohit's
clear,
captain.
he's never played an ODI.
Yeah, but he's a fantastic T20 player.
I don't
and a
disagree
fantastic
whatsoever.
Test player, so he can't go wrong. There's no sky argument here. He's the next all format.
I don't disagree 1%. I don't disagree at all. But it's important to remember he hasn't made an ODI debut yet.
Correct.
And this is an ICC tournament.
Correct.
So that's
but
just
he scored 1,000+ runs in Test, and he plays he's incredible in T20s, and he's 23, and I mean he's going to be a future Indian captain. He's up there with Gill, right? So if Rohit had been rested or opted to sit out, Gill and Yashasvi would have opened, right? That would have been the optimal forward-looking planning for 2027 combination. but we haven't done that. The two guys that are the captain and the vice captain will now open the batting, which means that I don't think there's a spot for Yashasvi unless he drops down the order and bats
And
four.
DJ, just on that vice captain, did you read that article that said Gambhir wanted two things and both got overruled? He wanted Hardik to be vice captain, and he
Really?
wanted Samson in the team instead of Pant, and both overruled
By Agarkar.
and Rohit. So it was kind of two
Interesting.
against one. So
I didn't read this
it's
article.
hard. It's
What's
hard
the
for
logic?
Gambhir. I don't know. I don't know what the logic. It just kind of said that they prefer Pant, his ability to be able to change a match, which we know has not happened in white ball cricket. And
But
Hardik thing, I don't know why.
but so much for then Gambhir kind of laying down the hammer, saying this is my team now, and all that. Like he clearly doesn't have the power to do
And
it. Right?
that's what his excuse is going to be. So that is going to be his excuse that I haven't been able to do anything I wanted. So anyway, sorry to stop you.
Messy.
You got to Jaiswal playing down the order.
Yeah, so I mean, if Rohit continues opening the batting, because interestingly on the Cricinfo website, he's described as a top order batter, not as an opening batter, which is in contrast to what Shubman Gill is described as.
Can I just say one thing really quick? And I've been very critical of Rohit, the red ball batter. But in the spirit of your opening comment, which is not conflating form across formats too much, right? Rohit averages 49 in ODIs at a strike rate of 92 across his career. But in 24, he played 3 matches, made 2 half centuries at a strike rate of 141. Year before that, 2023, played 27 ODIs, averaged 52.2. Before that, 41. 2020, averaged 57. 2019, averaged 57. 2018, averaged 73. 2017, averaged 72. Like, these numbers are unbelievable.
No,
so
there's no doubt
I
he's
have
an
been
all-time
super critical.
ODI great for India. No doubt.
But
There's no
we've
doubt.
said he was our biggest 6-hitter.
doubt.
Or India. Anyway, so keep going.
See, you've got to see. It comes back to the context of the tournament and these ODIs, right? Like, are you planning for 27? In which case, you should be giving guys like Yashasvi Jaiswal a look in, particularly because of the right-handedness of that order. Kohli is going to bat 3. It's where he's had his success. He's batted 4 previously, but if he can drop down to 4, I mean, the point is now Kohli's spot again, an all-time ODI great. I don't know. He must be averaging more than 50 in 55. I'd say almost venture towards in ODI cricket. But you're planning for South Africa. You're planning for 2027. Jaiswal, for me,
58.18.
Yeah, he's an all-time great in ODI cricket. There's no doubt about it. But
including
you have to
in 2023, his average was 72.
But you have to plan for what is coming ahead. You have to plan for that. You have to say, you have to put an eye on 2027, say what's gone is gone. They're all great players. They are all-time great players for India. There is no doubt. But the future, yes, they are probably going to be fit enough, just about, in Rohit's case, probably borderline, for the 27 World Cup. Kohli is going to be fit enough, but you need to plan for that 27 World Cup. And for that, Jaiswal has to play.
I think Jaiswal has to play even if you don't plan for the 27. That's the point, because it's so close by, and we said 27 is so far. I just think Jaiswal is too good to not.
And who do you drop? Do you drop Shreyas, Rahul, Pant? Who's not going to play?
I mean, Pant is definitely not going to play.
Yeah, I was like, Pant is out. Rahul will keep for sure.
But it's the left-handedness of that order again. You've got to think about that left hand, right hand. That's you've got to think about the matchups.
But we've seen success without that, right? And exactly in the same lineup, all the way down to Hardik.
Yeah, basically until Jadeja at 7, you don't have a lefty. Yeah. And we've seen success with it. So
yeah.
So are we saying Shreyas is playing ahead of Yashasvi at this point in ODIs?
We are saying he will. We can have a debate on existentially whether he should, but I'm saying
that's
he
what
will.
I mean. I think he probably will, but should he?
I don't think he should.
All right, let's.
But then the only way he can, the only way Jaiswal can come in if his Kohli bats at 4, which is exactly what you said.
Okay.
Shreyas Iyer in 2023. How are we talking about Kohli?
My life is spent talking about
who's going to bat at 4?
10 years.
I mean, Shankar still around, right? Hardik Pandya. 3.
All right, hold on. But to be fair, if you remove 2024 where there was only 3 games, in 23, Shreyas Iyer played 20 ODIs, averaged 52.8. right? 3 centuries, 4 half centuries. In 2022, he averaged 55.7. Like his record is there in ODIs. I'm all there for lefty righty. I'm all there for future proving. But Shreyas's numbers in this format in particular do speak for themselves.
Yeah, fair. And I don't disagree with it. But these are flat decks
Yeah.
where almost anyone is going to score runs. Pakistan and Dubai, right? Like you're going to score runs there. It's party time.
So speaking of flat decks, Varun, let me ask you the big surprise. Actually, as much as we spend 90% of every episode here talking about the top 6 and who'll bat where, the big surprise in the Champions Trophy 2025 squad was Mohammad Siraj. What is your assessment on him being left out of the squad? And I know you were hypercritical of his Australia series, but he has been a kind of mainstay in the side for the white ball for a while now. Of course, Arshdeep is a top class white ball bowler. Shami's back, and Bumrah's still got a question mark. But what's your take on Siraj?
I I I don't think he should have been there. If you're picking three pacers, I think that's just what it is. I don't dislike Siraj. I just have said this before. I don't think he's evolving as fast as he needs to. Right, over 5 years, his growth and evolution has not been the same as even an Arshdeep. So I think the left-handed bowler Arshdeep is definitely a value add. I think Shami, Shami just is Shami. He walks in, and I think the Bumrah inclusion, it's got to be some technicality where you had probably have to include him from the start or something. There has to be something because they've also they've not announced the third ODI squad for the England series, by the way.
They've said he's likely to play,
Yeah,
I think,
and
or
so
at least the
Harshit
news
Rana
is saying
is
that.
there instead of him in that English. So the teams are exactly mirrored except Bumrah and Rana. So got to think there's some technicality, and it's better to keep him in the squad and remove him and bring him back later. There has been a lot of chat that he will be fully ready by the time it's semis. I believe this tournament goes straight to semis. So so that's there. But I think Siraj just needs a break as well. I think he's been probably bowled the most number of overs for India in the last 5 years.
Yeah, I think that, and the fact is, if you rank order, if you have full availability of Bumrah, Shami, Arshdeep, Siraj in these conditions, he's probably the fourth in that order, right?
Yeah.
So, especially because Hardik is going to play as your quick bowling all-rounder, you're going to play max 2 pacers. And I think your point is valid. DJ, final one on the Champions Trophy 11. Ravindra Jadeja, Washington Sundar, Akshar Patel. It feels like 2 of them get a look in. Akshar is a great kind of lefty option, and he's batted, by the way, up at 4 and 5 before in certain match situations. Go ahead, Varun.
I think only one gets a look in, right? Because you're assuming Kuldeep will play.
Yeah, Kuldeep will play.
So I'm assuming Kuldeep, 2 quicks.
Yeah, Shami Bumrah.
And then 7 and then Hardik at 6. So I'm assuming 7 and 8 will be 2 spinning all-rounders. We can go through the order.
Jadeja and Washi.
No, I've got Arshdeep. Yeah, I've got Arshdeep in there.
So Arshdeep, I don't think will play if Shami and Bumrah both fit. I'd expect.
Got it.
I don't think you play 3 quicks and Hardik in these conditions.
I've got Jadeja and Washington at 7 and 8 in my lineup. That's 2 lefties, one after the other.
So Akshar selected as the T20 vice captain, which we'll talk about right after this. Doesn't get a look in.
T20.
I think Akshar is number 1.
I think Akshar walks into any white ball side. Yeah,
like walks in.
But you're going to play Jadeja and Akshar, both left arm spinners.
Yeah, because both of them can bat up the order if you need to. Like if you're 12 for 3, which we will be, you can easily send one of these guys to play defensive cricket. Both of them have that caliber.
But you don't have anyone off spinning anymore, because that's why I would play Washington, because if you play in England or somebody like that, or you're playing Australia with a Travis Head who's been such a pain, you would want to bowl off spin going away from him. So I think that there's too much sameness in that order, and that's the reason I would have gone for Washi.
Maybe we'll get some wrong-footed goalie bowling to break up the.
I mean, he might make the team as a bowler in some time.
But I think Sundar just hasn't done enough with the bat in white ball cricket. IPL, T20. I don't know if I'm sure he's played ODIs before. He just hasn't done enough, in my opinion. So and his batting is stronger than his bowling. That is the only catch for me. But it's a valid point about the off-spin, right-hand off-spin.
But and just to close off the 11 for me, I think Jaiswal for me would play at 3, Kohli would play at 4, and Pant would be my wicketkeeper. I think there's too much of an
totally
X factor
different.
there. Yeah, but
mine is completely different.
Yours is probably the 11 that will play For me,
Yes,
it's
yeah,
the
yeah,
11
yeah.
I would like to
Yeah,
play.
sorry,
I
I was
want
going
Punt to
predictable.
play at
Yeah,
5. I want Jaiswal to play at 3. That's
and I
exciting for
think
me. That can
I
match a
think
baseball.
Varun, what is your take?
I mean, I think okay, forget. We all know what the team is going to be.
Yeah, what would you like for
That's
it to
going to.
be?
I would actually like Jaiswal at 3, Kohli at 4,
Yeah.
and I would like Pant to not play.
And Rahul over Punt.
Yeah.
But
So
haven't they
Rahul
said
5,
something to
Rahul 3.
Rahul that your spot is not certain and you have to play
No,
some?
they've just. I think they've just. Dude, till yesterday, Pant's spot was not certain. Like Gambhir was backing Samson,
Yeah.
so I think KL has just been told just play the England series. Like you're not an automatic. I think is
Yeah.
the key. Also, when was the last time KL kept?
World Cup.
Was Yeah, but
Two
that was
years.
18 months. No, whatever, not 2 years, but
Yeah, yeah.
15, 16 months now.
Yeah.
So it's
He's
probably
also been
get
test
in and
captain in the
keep.
middle of that. Scored 100 in South Africa. His life, man.
Yeah,
KL
so
Rahul
that's what I'm
is.
saying, right? So I think he would play just to keep, right, and get back into that middle order mindset.
Clearly a very stable kind of multi-format team situation going on as we live through it. Yeah, I mean, I'm with you guys. I think Shreyas does play, but I also think potentially, DJ, to your point, there's a little bit of horses for courses, a little bit of rotating. I think the 3 spinning all-rounders may rotate through. I think you may see Rahul and Pant alternate depending on match situation, depending on the bowling attack. And I don't hate that, honestly, just given it's a long tournament, you have to adjust. So, right, as we wrap, we talked a lot about the Champions Trophy. We talked about a lot about this 10-point ruling. We are now sitting here 3 days away from an England series that it kind of came out of nowhere, but 5 T20s starting on January 22nd, and then 3 ODIs, which will be our final prep for the Champions Trophy. The big news on that squad, Mohammad Shami is back, which is awesome. I'll run through a couple of other quick highlights and then we'll just chat through how we're feeling about the T20 squad. But after the big test and the Champions Trophy prep, it feels a little out of place. So Shami's back. Nitish Reddy, Harshit Rana, Washington Sundar are all back. Compared to the last time we played T20s, Jitesh misses out, Yash Dayal misses out, Avesh misses out. I think we had Ramandeep Singh, Vijay Kumar Vaishak all in the T20 setup last time. They're all missing out. So here's what the squad looks like. Sky is captain. Akshar Patel is vice captain. Then you have Samson, Abhishek Sharma, Tilak Varma, Hardik Pandya, Rinku Singh, Nitish Reddy, and then Harshit Rana, Arshdeep Shami, Varun Chakravarti, Ravi Bishnoi, Washington Sundar, and the surprise pick for me is the backup keeper, Dhruv Jurel. Varun, let me ask you first. You expect any surprises here? Is this just going to be kind of a random one-off T20 that we watch for fun? Is it going to be IPL prep for these guys and for the teams, or is this going to influence the white ball strategy going forward, even for 50 overs?
Honestly, I just see this as prep for Shami. Like that is basically how I'm seeing this T20 series.
4 overs.
Makes no sense to have 5 T20s, but yeah, it's prep for Shami. It's probably good prep for Ashdeep and Hardik Pandya. That's it. It's a weird series that's hanging in the middle of nowhere, like you said. I think India's most success in the last 6 to 9 months has come in T20 cricket. So I think it's a good squad. They've kept true to the squad that they're going after, and I think it'll be fun. I always like watching T20 cricket.
Yeah,
Understatement of the year.
Like, I mean, what's there not to like? Sky's captain. You got Abhishek Sharma. You got Samson, Tilak, Rinku. I just think it'll be fun. I just don't know the value of it, and I think this is Gambhir's only controllable squad out of the 3, and they have delivered. And so, yeah, it's. I think England is the one who's probably going to use this as the prep for the Champions Trophy. Surprisingly, India is not.
Yeah, DJ, different take. Do you think if Akshar has a breakthrough series, does that get him in ahead of Sundar, you think, in the ODIs?
I think he's competing with Jadeja, to be honest, not with Sundar.
Do you think Sundar walks in? Okay.
I think Sundar not walks in, but the
Yeah.
logical thing for me would be to have more variety in the attack on those pitches, particularly.
Yeah. Right. It's going to be an interesting one. Big five T20s, 3 ODIs coming up. Before we wrap, I have to make sure we talk very quickly. DJ, you mentioned it about the phenomenal India women's series against Ireland women. If you haven't been following it, 435 for 5. I mean, the in the final ODI, 304 run win over Ireland, the highest total in women's ODIs by quite a long distance. I mean, I remember I was in college when 434 was the Australia South Africa ODI game, and it is just mind boggling that this team put up 435. I mean, a three match whitewash essentially. I'm like 6 wickets for the first game. That second game is where Jemima showed up really strong. So the second ODI, they scored 370, and I mean, just phenomenal. Won by 116 runs. And then in the third ODI, I came in and said, you know what? We're going to do one better. Made 435, 233 run opening centuries by both the openers. So just an absolutely phenomenal series for the India women. I don't actually know when their next series is, but what an incredible series, right? DJ, anything you'd add?
Yeah, fantastic. Hundreds for Jemmy, for Smriti, for the newcomer as well. Is it Pratika Rawal?
Pratika Rawal, yeah.
She was fan. She nearly looked like she was getting a double hundred. The 430 was a underachievement. They had about they could have got 450. She could have got a double. Yeah, it came against Ireland, but runs are runs, and this is the Smriti era. Remember, Harmanpreet isn't playing this, so Smriti Mandana, captain of
Phenomenal.
India.
Absolutely phenomenal. I think there's now some, while the men are playing, there's also some T20s against the England women. So that's going to be exciting. And then there's some England women. Actually, that's not true. That's coming in a few months' time. So we got a little bit of time before they
WPL
play.
starts
and then,
in
of course, the
February.
WPL. So it's going to be very exciting. Just phenomenal. I was just looking. I didn't get a chance to watch it, but 435 in an ODI match is just stunning. So, gentlemen, thank you for joining. Varun, I know it's late for you. DJ, I know your body probably has no idea what time is what with sleep, but this has been great. 5 T20s coming up. It's going to be a good series, and we'll be back before you know it to talk about who's batting at number 4 again and again, probably for the next 20 years of our lives. So stay tuned. If you're on YouTube, again, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, at One Tip One Hand on all the social, and we'll be back next week. Thanks so much for joining the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast.